More in the liquid dew of youth. Smokepit Fairy Tales, Part 5. Chapter 4. Novus, Ordo, Seclorum. The night of the ball had come. Piroska, being the commandant and acting president, decided the event should double as a press event. The Martius Pearl was a palace built in a grove between New Philadelphia, Annapolis, and Martius, D.C. Its primary function was a high-end hotel, but Piroska chose the venue for its ballroom. The Kreka Ballroom was the crown jewel of American architecture on Mars. The floors were polished oak, real oak. The ceilings were carved timbers fitted together to form an intricate pattern of flowers, eagles, and sailing ships. Wood had been one of the most expensive materials on the planet. It was becoming more affordable, but was usually still limited to those with fat wallets. Some people had some sort of imitation wood in their home, but most just had plastic. Capulet, Ocon, and their wives, Stockton, Chuck, Thatch, and Vickers, sat at their table in the far end of the ballroom, waiting for the ceremony to start. They watched the rest of the unit shake hands, laugh, and make fools of themselves.
So what do you think about all this?
Ocon asked Thatch.
Well,
Thatch pulled out his flask.
I think the whole thing's bullshit, merging our ball with this farce, but
Thatch took a long gulp.
I'm not gonna let it ruin my night. It's our birthday, damn it.
The rest of the table cheered and took a drink.
At least they have an actual band here.
Chuck said, looking at the Marines in red dress uniforms covered with buttons, ribbons, and flair.
Hopefully those guys don't deuce out and let a DJ start blaring bullshit.
Dude, fuck those guys. You know, when they join the band, they show up as staff sergeants and don't have to go to boot camp or OCS?
Really?
Vickers asked, looking at the band. Then the others at the table. Besides Capulet and Thatch, she was the tallest one there.
Really?
Thatch took another swig. Vickers eyeballed her drink before downing the rest of it in one gulp. She'd let her black hair grow out to her shoulders, the maximum length allowed by the unit, but it was pulled back into a tight bun for the night. Stockton leaned in.
You know, I kinda like the DJ trap music. It lets me get down on the dance floor and feel everyone up.
Stock, how the fuck are you not in jail for sexual assault yet?
Stockton tapped her medals with her finger.
Because they think I'm a war hero.
Thatch and Chuck rolled their eyes.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
The announcer called to the attendants. The lights dimmed. A spotlight focused on the color guard, who marched into the room with the American and Marine Corps flags flown high. The room was called to attention while the national anthem was played. General Piroska took the microphone, and the lights centered on him at the podium.
Good evening, Marines.
Good evening, sir.
Most of the room shouted back. Thatch's table just stared at him blankly.
And happy birthday.
Piroska smiled.
On the 10th of November in 1775, the Continental Congress formed a corps of Marines in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and every clime in place for nearly 3 centuries. The thousands of men and women who bore the title Marine have won our nation's battles on the land, on the sea, in the air, and in the far reaches of the solar system. In every battle we bloodied ourselves in, we have distinguished our honor, our eternal spirit, and ourselves. We shall forever live in the minds of those who have come after us in the quest to bring freedom and tranquility to the universe as we know it. So tonight, my Marines,
Piroska looked at the camera crew broadcasting the event.
to my countrymen, tonight we shall drink, eat, and be merry. For tomorrow starts the dawn of a new era. I am greatly humbled by how I have been chosen to serve our great nation. Senate has just voted to repeal the 12th and 22nd Amendment and are currently rewriting Article 2 of the United States Constitution.
The room sat silent.
I, Lucius Piroska, shall be the United Nations' new leader.
Glory, right. Hell yeah. Talking about.
The ballroom erupted with rejoice. Drinks were raised to the ceiling. Cheers and claps were sounded loud enough to be heard on the sun through the vacuum of space. Marines stood from their chairs and shouted, Semper Fi, towards the new leader. All except Thatch's table, who gawked at Piroska.
He can't fucking do that.
Capulet dropped his head into his hands.
What the hell?
What are we gonna do about this?
Vickers sneered.
There's nothing we can do. He's doing it legally.
God damn it.
Chuck ground his teeth. His gold fang pushed into his bottom gum until it drew blood. The oral surgeon that put it in didn't quite do the job right. He figured that's what he got for trusting naval medicine. Piroska waved the crowd down with a smile.
Thank you. Thank you all.
He faced more towards the camera and away from the ballroom.
I swear to gather the people of America. We will drive out the anger and hate, and we will dwell in this land of safety. You shall be my people, and I shall be your leader. I will dedicate my heart to those who swear allegiance to this great country, for our own good, and the good of the children. We will live amongst each other and walk together into a brighter future. Prosperity will flow to the hands of the American people once again, and we will smash the enemies towards the sun. We will construct the people again, rebuild the military that's been in the stalemate with the Russian Federation. I swear to you, I will never be disloyal to this office. When it's all over, we will look back to the great accomplishments of our lives, migrating to a new planet from our home and defeating the enemy who drove us off with this unholy fire. America will stand as the only true power in the solar system for 1,000 years. No one will go hungry. No one will be cold. We shall cast our differences aside and band together as one nation. We do not strive for war, but it is necessary to eliminate the threat of Russian aggression that looms upon us. Look what they did to President Orwendell. That shall not become the face of Martian life. In the end, we shall have no more crying, or sorrow, or pain. We will wash away the old order. Fate will lead this fight. I am convinced that no understanding can be reached with the men in that federation. When President Orwendell sought to bring understanding, Putin cried, "I want war!" Him and his warmongers will get it. There will be no charming affair for the Venusian Kremlin. I do not want it. I am a warrior myself, and I know its hardships, and how difficult it is to win a victory. We've been watching Russia. Each movement is carefully noted. Countermeasures are in place. Volgograd is still fresh in our minds, and we remember that terrible price we paid with bloodshed, foreign soil. We must not let another victory be so dearly priced. This will only happen when the American people become a single community of sacrifice, so that we can expect the Almighty God to help us. For the Lord has never helped a lazy man, nor does he help the cowards and those who cannot help themselves. Help me, help us destroy Putin, and the Lord God will not deny us his assistance.
The crowd again gave him a standing ovation. Akan couldn't believe her senses. She looked at Thatch.
Oh, this is fucking wrong.
Yeah, no shit.
Thatch couldn't force himself to do anything besides blink. Capulet leaned over the table.
This guy's a fucking snake. He's staining the Corps' honor.
Chuck's cheeks hurt from the involuntary scrunching of his face. He forced himself to drop it and drank from the flask he had in his pocket. Thatch stood up with the rest of the crowd.
I'm gonna go smoke.
He headed to the back door, flicking a cigarette from the pack. Chuck and Stockton followed him to the balcony. It overlooked a reflecting pool, surrounded by a garden of conifers and a blanket of snow. The only flowers blooming were the red winter roses. Thatch huffed and fired up his cigarette. Dumbstruck, he searched for words to express his utter revolt.
So, are we gonna do that support and defend the Constitution thing?
Chuck asked the other two.
We can't.
Stockton said with smoke escaping her nose.
If they made that legal, then it's legal. If Piroska threw a coup, it would be different. But apparently, it's all Congress doing.
Chuck shook his head and spat.
It's bullshit, man.
Yeah, this is all bullshit.
After a minute, others from the ballroom walked outside to the bar in the balcony. Some for drinks, others to smoke. Thatch looked over the rails of the pool and the tall, cone-shaped trees lining the garden. He watched the fat white snowflakes drift from the sky and melt once meeting the water.
Hey. Good evening.
He heard an unpleasant duo approach from the ballroom. He turned to see Gemery and Ramsey standing by Stockton and Chuck.
Sup?
Thatch grumbled at them. Stockton mean-mugged the uninvited conversationalist.
Hey, happy birthday, right?
Ramsey nodded with a slimeball smile.
Yeah.
Can you believe this look?
Gemery smiled.
Lady Luck's a whore and only opens her legs for cash.
Ramsey half winced and smiled.
Why are you all upset for Allensworth?
It's Sir.
Stockton corrected him. Ramsey ignored her.
The world's starting to become a more honest place.
What did you two do to get sent to this prison?
This is a prison.
Gemery reared his head back.
That's news to me.
I don't think headquarters is that bad.
Ramsey sneered.
Why are you two even here?
Thatch asked, annoyed with their existence.
We're on the Commandant's guard.
Gemery kept his smile up. Stockton looked at the gap in between his front two teeth. She imagined she could fit a boot between them, then imagined a shotgun.
Yeah, Commandant's personal security detachment.
Ramsey stepped up to Thatch so that they were nose to nose. He tapped the badge on his chest that identified him as a member.
It's an elite unit. We had to go to the DJT Special Warfare to get that.
Ramsey stuck his tongue under his bottom lip and stared down at Thatch in an effort to impose fear.
But you wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
Thatch looked at the eyes staring him down 4 inches away. He looked down to both of Ramsey's medals. The National Defense Medal he got just for joining the military, and his Good Conduct Medal he got for not getting court-martialed. Then, Thatch looked at the medals he himself had on his right chest, and the ribbons on the left. his bronze and silver stars, his Navy Cross, and Purple Hearts. Thatch was above pulling rank to win arguments, or else he just would have told the belligerent sergeants to get out of his face.
Donahue?
Thatch used his last name as an insult.
What would you know about that?
He spoke calmly.
You've literally done nothing besides sit on your thumb at Camp Castle and suck Gemery over here's dick. You think you're hot shit because you passed some bullshit course that taught you to what?
Thatch squinted.
Clear rooms?
Thatch pointed to Ramsey's ribbons.
Where are the rest of those? Did you forget to deploy?
Thatch put his hand in his pocket, readjusted his feet, and looked deeper into Ramsey's eyes while they glared at each other.
You know, I've always wondered something about you. What are you overcompensating for? You're almost 7 feet tall, you drive a huge truck, and you always have to be the center of everyone around you's tension. I've noticed that you'll just not like people if they don't worship you. What was it that your mom didn't love you? Did your dad love you too much? Or is it that you're personally so repugnant that you have to pay for sex and Tiny Tim Town there is turning red and about to fall off?
Ramsey fumed. He had no regard for rank or experience. Thatch crawled just a little bit too far under his skin. He moved in so his nose touched Thatch's.
What are you gonna do about it?
He glared hate into Thatch's eyes until he felt a paralyzing pain from between his legs.
Oh, this thing is small.
Stockton stuck her hand under Ramsey and had his balls locked between her fingers. Ramsey's limbs were frozen, but he managed to look down at her.
Let those go! Let those go!
Piss yourself.
Stockton said, stone-faced.
What? No! Let go of me!
Piss yourself.
Oh, come on, Broad, let go of me!
Stockton squeezed harder, forcing Ramsey's eyes to water.
It's Chief.
Gemery swung up his arm to help Ramsey. Chuck caught it and held him back, hissing.
You fucking do anything, and I'll have you both rolled up for disrespecting an officer.
Gemery stood still impotently.
What are you waiting for, a special warfare grad?
Thatch smirked.
The chief gave you an order.
Tears swelled in Ramsey's eyes from the pain. He looked around in a vain effort that someone might see him and come to his aid.
Well, come on.
Thatch leaned back against the balcony rails and crossed his arms.
I got shit to do tonight.
Ramsey closed his eyes. Tears poured from his face as urine filled his trousers. When there was a long streak staining his uniform, Stockton let him go.
Now get the fuck out of here, both of you.
Thatch barked at the two of them. Ramsey wept and covered his crotch with his hands as Gemery helped him hobble away. Stockton held her hand out to her side, keeping it away from her uniform.
I'm gonna go clean this shit up.
She excused herself to the head.
Fucking retards.
Chuck scoffed, pulling out another cigarette.
Yeah.
Thatch looked inside the ballroom. The party was still alive and well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see you all still here.
What about Piroska?
What about him?
Thatch shrugged.
There's nothing we can do about that tonight, and might as well get tanked.
You're not wrong.
Thatch passed the windows and pulled open the door without looking and bumped chest first into General Piroska. It took him half a second to realize it was him.
Oh, hey, good evening, sir.
Piroska slapped Thatch's shoulder.
Good evening to you too, Lieutenant, and happy birthday.
Yeah,
Thatch masked his disdain under a fake smile.
happy birthday.
He nodded his head at Glaedwine, who was close behind Piroska.
Lieutenant Allenforth,
Piroska paused and smiled.
I've noticed that you've seemed a little down recently.
Thatch clamped his teeth together.
It's nothing major, sir. It's winter. I'm half virescent. My body feels weak if I don't get sun. Mars ain't the best place to get that anyway.
Thatch stared at Piroska from under his eyebrows.
And I voted for Hornwindle. I'm kind of taking that hard.
Glaedwine grabbed Thatch's arm and rubbed his bicep with a thumb.
Yes, it's unfortunate, honey. But you can't spend the rest of your life staring at the sand over it.
Thatch.
The Commandant started. The sound of Piroska calling him by his name irked him. The muscles in the back of his neck twitched, forcing him to fight to keep his head straight.
You're a good officer and a better Marine. It's good to know we have men who are passionate about our leaders. It's unfortunate about Hornwindle, that's true. But we must march on. Please think of me as your new leader.
I don't have much choice.
Thatch thought.
I want to keep you around headquarters as long as I can, and then maybe start grooming you on your way to getting a star.
Glaedwine backed Piroska.
You're going to stay here for a while, right?
Yes, ma'am. But, I need another drink.
Thatch offered a fake smile and nodded.
Excuse me.
He made his way to the inside bar. He felt dirty for the exchange, like his skin was going to evaporate off of his bones.
Any resistance is pointless.
There were only a few people he could trust to air his grievances to. Besides them, he'd have to suffer in silence. A half of the guests were already dancing. That made it easier for Thatch to weave through the tables. As he headed for the door, he spotted Samum from the corner of his eye. He felt like he almost had a sixth sense for her. He started to keep walking, but then thought,
Nah, what the hell?
and walked to her table. She was sat with General Cecil, Captain Salisbury, and their wives. Thatch tapped Samum on the shoulder. When she looked up at him, he asked,
Hey, can I ask you to dance?
Samum smiled.
Well, you can ask me anything you want.
May I have this dance?
Samum stood from her chair with a simper.
It would be rude to say no.
Thatch grabbed her hand and gently pulled her through the tables to the dance floor. The only saving grace of that night's nightmare was the band was actually playing music, and there wasn't a DJ to be seen. Thatch wrapped his arm around Samum's waist and held her hand in his. Slowly, they stepped together while the band played an old British funeral song. Samum rested her head on Thatch's chest. It was a deliberate effort to push against the high collar on her uniform.
You know, we really shouldn't be fighting.
Thatch whispered back.
Yeah, but at this point it's a game, and if you shoot me, I win.
That sounds like a shitty game to win.
It's not the worst thing that's ever happened.
I guess not.
Thatch continued to lead her across the floor.
Do you think we could give this thing an honest shot?
Samum looked up and gave him an uneasy stare.
I mean, we wouldn't have to jump straight in.
I don't know. Just get our feet wet and see how we like it.
Yeah.
We could try, but you and I are like matches and gas.
We could keep a fire extinguisher with us.
Samum smiled, trying not to laugh.
How would we start?
We could build a snowman.
Samum shook her head and snorted.
We could go for a walk.
The garden out back is beautiful.
Thatch led her by the arms and danced her to the edge of the floor. He extended his hand and escorted her to the balcony. When they got to the stairs, Samum hooked her arm around his, and they strolled past the reflecting pool in the garden. The snowflakes grew fatter and stopped melting immediately upon landing. The garden wasn't well lit, but light bounced off the snow, giving the art a distinct green and pink glow.
I love the way the roses seem to just pop out of the snow.
Samum noted the contrast between the dark red flowers and the pink, glowing frost.
Yeah, it's a cool look.
There wasn't much more than a light breeze. Their dress blue coats kept them warm. Thatch savored the body heat coming from Samum's arms as they strolled through the garden. He had been doing well with keeping the ants from overcrawling his skin and his gut from twisting in Samum's presence, but they were starting to surface. He could feel the tiny little bugs begin to wake up in the bottom layer of his skin. Deep down in his core, the ants gathered together. The wave of dread washed over Thatch's body, and he began to tremble. Samum felt him shake.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm just a little chilly.
He lied. The ants poured over his heart. They wore shirts that read, "Don't fall for her again," and held up banners and signs protesting Thatch's proximity to Samum. They lined up and marched down the city square. Thatch, trying to be the leader of his own soul, attempted to reason with the ants. He told them things would be different this time, and that there's nothing to worry about. The ants didn't buy it. They knew he was just trying to shut them up. Growing angry, they started to throw stones at him, swearing and growing even rowdier. Thatch contacted the commander of his army. Something had to be done about his body's blatant disrespect for his mind. He wouldn't stand for this type of insubordination any longer. The commander of the troops told Thatch that the army had never been used to suppress the ants and that he absolutely refused to besmirch that historical record. Thatch shot the commander between the eyes and glared with his mind's eye at the second in command. The XO promptly communicated to the army and mobilized the troops. The ants barricaded the streets around Thatch's heart and blocked the soldiers by massing together and shouting anti-Samum rhetoric. They said Thatch was corrupt and destroying the heart where the ants lived. Thatch declared martial law. He screamed at the ants, "This is not a democracy! You do not have a say in this. Go back to sleep." The ants shouted, "No." Thatch ordered the new commander to disperse the crowd. The troops shot in tear gas, but the ants returned Molotov cocktails. Some ants fled, but others kept up the fight, standing their ground. A tank company was brought in. As it treaded down the street, a lone ant in a short-sleeved shirt stood in front of the column. The tank commander popped out of the top and ordered him to move, saying that the ant was subverting the army. The lone ant stood, protecting the rest of the crowd from the oncoming tanks. Thatch ordered the tanks to drive over him, then the rest of the ants. The tanks followed orders and ran the lone ant over on their way to the protest. Then the army circled the crowd and either ran over or shot every last one of them. Thatch stopped trembling, and the feeling of dread escaped his body. He shook the last of it out with a deep, slow breath.
Samum?
Thatch said as they reached the end of the garden.
I know we haven't had the best track record, but even when I'm mad at you, it doesn't matter how terrible I feel. If I can be close to you, all my problems just disappear while we're touching.
Samum was silent. Thatch felt the insurrection coming back. He put the tanks on his heart and gave them orders to shoot on sight if they were to even sense a protesting ant. He wondered why heavy combat didn't make him feel as terrible as even just talking to Samum did. Samum bit her lips, looking at the pool as it started to freeze over.
Slowly. We have to do this slowly.
Thatch nodded.
So maybe just grab lunch next week sometime? One foot in front of the other?
One step at a time.
Thatch smiled.
Well, what are you doing the rest of the night?
I'm going to go home and get some sleep.
Can I walk you back to the ballroom?
Samum simpered.
You absolutely may.
Hey everybody, what's kicking? What you doing? How you doing? What is that sentence I just said? Hello everybody. What's kicking? How are you? I hope you're well, is what I wanted to say. Anyway, thank you for listening to another chapter episode of More Than the Liquid Dew of Youth. As always, if you don't want to wait for me to, finish reading this book to you, you can just go, get the book. Also, this book is already up on Audible, so, you don't have to wait for him to come out on YouTube. You can go get him there if you don't want to, wait. Also, I do put these chapters up on Patreon as I go. This whole book's already up. I'm maybe about a quarter of the way through book 6 over there right now. And they get those chapters as soon as I get done with them. And then YouTube members get these as soon as I upload the videos for them. I'm a little late today. I'm uploading this on Monday, but I need to get better at that. I try to do these on Sunday most of the time, but hey. But also with that, people who, subscribe over on Patreon and the channel members on YouTube, as well as people who get the war chest, they get their name in the credits of these. So thank you all for that. Other than that, I don't know if I've actually had a whole lot going on this week. I mean, I have. I've been having one of those things where I'm like super busy, but like it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything because I'm just staring at something doing this. Kind of. I've got the master scripts for Smoked Fairy Tale 7, 8, and 9 done. I just got to go and cut the individual character scripts, and then I'll start, reaching out to voice actors and being like, yo, what up? And starting to put those together. Which, by the way, if you would like to lend me your voice for the upcoming books, all you really need is a microphone and somewhere quiet to record, and then, hit me up. We'll make it work. It's actually a lot easier than it sounds, for the most part. I've also been painting like a madman, so that's been fun. I'll put the time lapse of my last big painting up in the, bloopers part of this. I got down the rabbit hole after watching that old show, Merlin, with Sam Neill. It's like a mini-series from, the 90s. It was 2 or 3 episodes long. It was kind of, on kin with, Hercules. Not quite Xena Warrior Princess. But anyway, I got down the rabbit hole Googling stuff, and I ended up on the Wikipedia page for, Saint Margaret of Antioch, which has a short but interesting but also varied story. She lived in the first couple centuries AD, and then her dad was either a pagan king or a priest, and she converted to Christianity, and then her dad didn't like that, so he locked her up in a cell. And then the story goes a couple different ways from there. Either, a dragon showed up. Sometimes the dragon is also Satan and swallowed her whole. And then, since she had, her cross, it, melted the dragon's stomach and, it had to hack her up. And then, the less fanciful, version of that is, just a regular demon showed up and, she rebuked it. But then the middle story, the one that I kind of think's funny is supposedly she grabbed it by the hair and then grabbed a hammer, and then did the whitest kids thing with Abraham Lincoln and said, I'm going to beat him to death with this hammer. But I've also been playing a lot of Doom, so that inspired the art style. It's also a really big painting, so while it is on the site, it's a little pricey, mostly because it's going to cost, I don't know, $200 to fucking mail. But I'll make prints of it too. I need to make prints of a lot of stuff. There are some prints of some other paintings and a lot of prints of digital art for things or images that I made for the Smoked Fairy Tale series over on the site. But I need to figure out how to make, prints for the long boys. But I'll get on that sooner than later. I'll figure that out. All right, well, anyway, hey, thank you very much for watching this and listening to my stories. Thank you, Patreon people. Thank you, YouTube subscriber people. And thank you to everyone who's gotten a war chest. I'm gonna quit rambling and let you get back to it. And I will catch you next week. All right, ciao.
Let's do a fucking test already. Let's fucking, god damn it, take a test. I studied for it.
Just like all politicians, this man loves the sound of his own fucking blowhole. All right, Chapter 4. Novus, Ordo, Seclorum. Fuck, there's that ghost again.
What are you waiting for, Special Warfare? Special Warfare? Special Waffle Grad.
Do it live!
That's Waffle House Special Forces.
Hoorah!
Now she's acting all normal and sane, and she's a trickster. She's Trixie.
On the 10th of November in 1775, my Marine Corps came alive. Oh, shit, yours did too. That's not part of this speech. And happy birthday.
Holy shitballs, Mom. Fuck.
That was a lot less Cockney than the original Ramsey voice I did. It turned into a bit like moderately redneck. He's only slightly redneck.
It overlooked a reflecting pool, surrounded by a garden of conifers. Conifers, not real fires. Those fucking weird wood things that people put in their fireplaces and hit a switch.
I, Lucius Piroska, shall be the United Nations' new leader. Now, what I said earlier reminds me of a joke. There was once a transgender man who wanted nothing more than to eat, drink, and be merry. That's my General Piroska dad joke. Anyways, I gotta keep doing this fucking voice.
Who's your daddy?
I can't believe Ramsey's being invited to piss himself and he isn't taking up the offer. I mean, that's weird. Who would do that?
The crowd goes wild, Piroska. These aren't golf claps. These are Marine claps.
Nixon's back!
Anyways. What? What? What?
Later, Piroska bumps into Thatch.
Samum stood from her chair with a semper Fi!
Oh. This is the sequence to destroying my vocal cords. Oh, come on, Broad, let go of me.
Maybe I could be your father. Glaedwine could become my wife, and we could be a happy family together. No? Am I saying my thoughts out loud again? God damn this whiskey.
I'm not recording the pissing sounds like halfway down the page.
I'm sorry. I eventually broke up. Like, how many of these lines can I just read wrong and not get a reaction out of you? Oh, your microphone's muted. I'm just sitting here. Like, I knew it was muted too. I'm just sitting here, like, imagining you laughing and me not being able to hear it, just pushing through it. All right. It's important to have fun when you're doing these kinds of things. All right. Just get her pussy's wet. See how we like it? Just the tip. See how it feels. Fuck.
So are we going to...
Please think of me as your new leader. And if I'm lucky, maybe your new father. Get in them Glaedwine titties.
Whiskey break.
I want to keep you around headquarters as long as I can, and then maybe start grooming you on your way to getting a star. And by grooming, I mean in the Jeffrey Epstein way.
Yeah, this is so fun. I'm reading it with, like, kind of a... This is happening. There's a reason this chapter is 4,500 words. Solid 5% of the novel. Yeah. The ant's like, remember us? The Argentine fire ants? And Thatch is like, I'm about to introduce Reefa. Red imported fire ants for those of you who aren't read in. Watch a YouTube video about it. It's great.
Chapter 4. Novus Ordo Seclorum. Fuck, I just hailed a demon, I think.
Oh, yeah. Ah, shit.
Because they think I'm a war hero. Why does that not sound right?
News to me? Yeah, fuck that.
Maybe I should fucking date her. Holy shit. Jesus. Why doesn't combat stress me out as much as this? Don't just fuck, what are you talking to her for? Good God. Fucking. I hope you get eaten by ants.
If you can get on her, stay on her. If you can't come in her, come on her.
Papers flipping.